Good evening and welcome to round 7 of the AK Racing Supercars Championship, live from Sydney Motorsport Park. So, 6 rounds down, and here we are, midpoint of the season. It's been a very interesting season so far, with our man O'Hara leading the way early in the standings, but since then he's been overpowered by Reid, Kortum, and Cotter in the standings due to obviously not being able to make a number of rounds due to various reasons. He is in the server this evening, which is good to see, but looks like once again having some more server issues at the moment. But there was a practice session going. It's just finished, but we're not too far away from qualifying for this evening. But just to go over obviously what is happening tonight, let's just have a look. It's obviously, actually just one moment, I'll just update the graphic there because that's the previous round's one. And there we go. So here we are, round 7, Sydney Motorsport Park here at Eastern Creek in Sydney. 3.93 kilometres long, 11 corners, super sprint format this evening. So that means there's obviously a qualifying session which sets the grid for the first race. And then obviously after the first 12 laps, I do believe the grid is set from the finishing order of race 1 for the feature race, which is 62 laps long this evening. So hopefully the server sorts itself out and we can get going fairly soon. But that gives us bit of time just to go over the championship standings, just to see how things have been going. And as you can see on your screen, Reid leading the championship on 1,484 points, 82 points in front of Scott Kortum in second place. Cotter, who took out the feature race at Hidden Valley last time out on 1,357, has been outperforming his teammate of late. And Kortum, he's been putting together a fairly solid charge of late. And Delaney as well, his form has certainly seen an uptick since round 3 onwards. So that's why he's now sitting in 4th place in the championship. Munro as well, he's had some very, very good pace in the Rabble Club Nissan, but consistency in races has been a thorn in his side. But still, 5th place in the standings, about 300 points away from the top. O'Hara, as I said, led the championship for the first 2 or 3 rounds. And pace-wise has certainly been obviously up there every time he has raced, but he's been absent for a number of rounds, unfortunately. I do believe Pukekohe was the first round that he missed, and that was due to power issues, but I'm not sure why he's been unable to make the last couple, but good to see him back in the server today. So we should see him certainly be towards the front end of the field and giving Reid, Kortum, Cotter, Delaney and Munro a run for their money. Behind him, Hine, he's started the strong fairly strongly, but last couple of rounds haven't quite gone his way, but still only 1 point behind O'Hara, who was leading the championship, and only 24 points away from Munro as well. He's got a fairly sizable gap over Duro. Duro hasn't been the quickest guy out there. Certainly the 2 guys behind him in Brock and Hall have probably had him pace-wise, but he's just been plugging away. And he's been able to find himself now in the top 8 in the championship. Believe he's finished just about every race. And he doesn't put a foot wrong generally. But he doesn't quite have the pace, but he's certainly got the consistency. And he just keeps going out there and picks up some really solid points. So that sees him in 8th. Brock, a bit like a yo-yo. Certainly loves the cameras, whether he's spinning around, making an overtake, or defending very, very hard. I sees him in 9th position. Hall in 10th. And just flip over the page to Eaton, who has been in the top 10 in the championship, but after last round just dropped out on 786. Got Thornton there on 733, and Lucas as well on 715. So very close between those guys in the championship. Lauder hasn't had the greatest run in the Supercar Championship. His form in the GT3s has been quite spectacular. So he'll be hoping to translate some of that this evening into a good run in the supercars around here. And then we have Crab not too far away as well, only 8 points off Dominiac, and well, pretty much from Dominiac all the way down to Keys in the championship, very, very close together. And I'd certainly expect Phillips to pick up his form in the championship. Cotter has shown form in previous seasons, so should he show up, he'll certainly make it interesting in that regard. In the teams championship, of course, Erebus with Reid and Cotter leading the championship. Team Castrol Plus Fitness after a sluggish start in the championship. They're just within 200 points of the Penrite Erebus racing team, but they're going to need a little bit of luck, I think, just to claw back that gap in the championship. Rabble Club sitting in third at the moment, courtesy of Munro's fine form. And then Walkinshaw and Andretti United, both their drivers obviously picking up points at each round, but they could probably be in front of Rabble Club, but their consistency from both drivers has seen them drop points pretty much every round. One of their drivers has dropped it where they've been in a promising position. Boost Mobile Motorsport, neither of their drivers, I believe, at the last round, which has seen them drop from, I do believe they were in third place in the standings last time out at Hidden Valley, or before Hidden Valley. Now they enter the Sydney Motorsport Park in fifth, and they're 90 points in front of Machinery House, which has pretty much just been the sole entry of Hine there. And then Super Cheap Auto, they've seen a massive jump. They were outside the top 10 in the standings, and they've rocketed up to P7 in the team standings after the last round. So they feature for the first time on this screen on 14.42 points. Shell V-Power, DJR, Team Penske, they've been in the top 10 for a little while. Haven't been the fastest team out there, but they keep plugging away. And they're on 1,378 points. Team 18 on 12.45. That team's gone through some changes throughout the season, but they see themselves now in 9th place. Bodlow Racing, they were a little bit higher before Hidden Valley, but not the greatest round for them, has seen them drop down to 10th place in the standings. Alright, I do believe the drivers at the moment are in a driver's briefing, so we've still got a little bit more time before we do go to qualifying. So might as well just bring up the calendar, as you can see on your screen. So tonight, the 29th of March, the final of the Super Sprint events here at Easy Creek / Sydney Motorsport Park. A couple of weeks' time, AK Racing Supercars Championship will head to the Bend for the first of 4 Endurance Cup events. There will be, I should say, driver changes in each of them. They'll be implemented with drivers leaving the server and their teammate joining the server after being assigned their car, and they'll join obviously in the correct car, and away they go. So hopefully that goes smoothly, and that will be obviously in a couple of weeks' time from the Bend. And then Bathurst again, that will be a full Bathurst 1000 on April 26th. And then after that, May 10, Gold Coast, which has always thrown up some interesting results, some good racing and some big crashes. And no doubt about it, it'll be the exact same in the AK Racing form. Then the penultimate round from Sandown International Raceway, and then the season finale, the second of the Super Street events, and the final round of the championship on June 7th from the Newcastle Street Circuit. Alright, just having a little bit of a look around just in the standings, and from what I've seen, the limited time that I've seen in practice, did see O'Hara setting a 28 in practice. It was the fastest time that I saw. Not sure if that was the ultimate pace or if that was race pace or anything like that, but certainly going to be a time for the drivers to chase. But again, still just waiting at the moment for the drivers' briefing to take place, and then of course qualifying will be shortly after. Currently 19 drivers in the server, Hopefully we see a few more jump in shortly, but looks like it'll be once again, a little bit of a smaller grid this time out. Actually, as I scroll through, seems a couple have joined the server. We do have 22 in the server now, so that's looking good with plus 20 cars. Still another couple normal regulars not in the server. Hopefully they can make it, and hopefully we can get this going underway shortly. But for those that are watching, obviously feel free to ask any questions regarding the series and the like, and I'll try and answer them as best as I can. We'll be commentating this one solo once again. We did have Reid for, it'll be the first round of the championship at Adelaide, but his computer has limited him to obviously sticking to just the Automobilista TCR stuff that I've been running. Alright, so still just waiting at the moment. We've had a bit of a change over, obviously, between this round and last round. We've had to find a race director as our last one, so unfortunately had to step down. So we had a little bit of a scramble the last few days to find a new one, but we have found one, thankfully. Hopefully he won't have too much work to do this evening. Hopefully no safety cars, obviously, to be called, hopefully, but you never know with online racing. And just looking through the field, looks like after a no-show last round with neither of the Boost Mobile Motorsport cars making the Hidden Valley round, looks like they're both here this evening. So O'Hara, I did mention earlier, had set a lap time in practice, and also got Lynn in the server as well, which is good to see. So hopefully see a good strong run from both of those guys to mix it up in the Team and Drivers Championship. Now, do actually have a driver out on the circuit at the moment, so we'll try and actually find him while we wait. If it wants to let me, that is. And it appears it doesn't. So again, we'll just continue waiting. Hopefully we get knocked over to qualifying soon enough, but so the driver's briefing taking quite a long time this evening. So we're still waiting for it to tick over. Obviously, 10-minute qualifying session. Currently looks like 23, 24 drivers in the server as well. Actually got a number of drivers actually leaving the pit lane. Looks like they're just going to do a little bit of practice, so we might as well jump out there as well and have a look and see how they're travelling out there. Alright, so while we wait, obviously for the driver's briefing or whatever to take place, still a few minutes of practice to go, and drivers are out there just having a little muck around at the moment. So obviously Guttison is mucking around doing some skids out there. Also got French out there who Hasn't been. I don't believe he's raced for a round or two, so it's good to see him back out there and racing once again. So we've got Munro out there. Certainly one of the hot qualifiers out there of late. If he's not on pole position, he's certainly quite close to pole on the front row there or thereabouts. So he's out there at the moment trying to get himself ready. So right on board and see what he's doing at the moment. See how he tackles Sydney Motorsport Park. So obviously a run down the hill towards turn 1. You don't want to miss the apex for this one because it'll cost you a lot of time, and if there's a car behind you, it'll cost you, see, probably a position here into turn 2, the prime overtaking point on the circuit. You can take it a number of ways. It's a little bit of a double apex, as well as a little bit of a slide there for Munro on the exit. Now for turn 3, watch the traction on the exit. Down the hill for turn 4. And now for Broxo 5, or turn 5. And you'll see a number of the drivers using the additional runoff there and the separate pit lane to carry as much speed as possible. Now turn 6 and 7 under the bridge. Use all the road and more. Very easy to lock up here into turn 8. You want to get the nose in, straighten it up and then accelerate away. And now for the very tricky braking point at 9 and 10. So in real life there's a lot of runoff on the exit of that. Well, this version of Sydney Motorsport Park does not have it. Anyway, looks like we're just about to go qualifying. Alright, as you can see, it has ticked over to qualifying. Top corner, well not top corner, but at the top of your screen, Q, and the number of time remaining. And once again, Kortum, first man, like he is always in these qualifying sessions, first man out onto the circuit for Team Castrol Plus Fitness in the Nissan Altima. So obviously, second place man in the championship, looking to close the gap down between himself and Reid. So Reid, our reigning champion. So what we normally do, normally ride on board Kortum for the sort of introduction lap of Eastern Creek. We've already sort of done that with Munro, but we'll do it again here, as this will be a hot lap, no doubt. Alright, so really your qualifying lap starts here. You want a good exit coming out of turns 10 and 11. Don't run too wide on the grass and cost yourself a little bit of time and speed down the straight. So he's got a decent exit. Now the long run now towards turn 1. It's very, very easy to miss the apex. It's hard on the limiter, a little bit of curb use. Now this version of the track doesn't have an exit curb, so you don't want to run on the grass. Hard on the brakes for turn 2, and he's going to sort of double that apex. So carry a bit of speed in, hit the initial apex, run a little bit wide, tuck the nose in, and get a decent exit. And you've got to balance the throttle through turn number 3. And then again, a little bit on the brakes, down a gear for turn 4. Get to the right hand side for turn 5. Use all that apron on the right hand side to carry as much speed out of the corner as possible. Now, don't outbrake yourself for turn 6. Use that little bit of apron with the alternate circuit there. Don't get too greedy on the exit of 7, because you've got to set yourself up for turn number 8. Don't lock a brake. He's not locked a brake. And then nice and smooth on the exit. And now it's all about getting the braking point right for turn 9 and 10 here. So he flicks down a gear to settle the car down, and then starts braking down another gear. And now you want to set a nice run up out of the final corner for the long run towards the start-finish line. So Kortum now to the start-finish line, and he'll set a 29.7. We've had Munro immediately blitz that by just a tenth of a second. He's going back to the pits. So got Eaton there on a lap. So we'll just stick to the pit straight for a moment. And there's O'Hara straight to the top, a 29.3. The time's coming in thick and fast now. Also got yellow flags out there at the moment. Probably drivers just waiting to go back to the pits. So all drivers, in fact, just setting the 1 lap time and then going back to the pits, it seems. So it seems like... Oh, as Lynn comes out into a lot of traffic. That's one of the old school Penrite Erebus cars. Of that'd be either Kurt Stenberg or Colin Warwick. And it is indeed Kurt Stenberg or Stenny. Also got a number of drivers out there as well. Looking to set a lap. But those first 11 all out there to set a lap. Now looks like we've got another group ready to set a lap. We've got Pickford out there at the moment. 23 seconds off, so I'm going to assume this is an out lap. So we'll just wait and see as he crosses the start-finish line. Instead, of course, it does have a little bit of a tendency to mess the timing up when spectating other cars, which is a bit frustrating at times, but just one of the limitations of the game. Anyway, Pickford to the line, and a 32.1 for him. So that was a time lap. I'll try and go a little bit further back, but again, game just playing funny buggers on us at the moment. Also got Delaney out there, one of the other men trying to work his way up in the championship standings. Second of the Team Castrol Plus Fitness drivers. See Kortum being the other. Kortum currently in 4th place at the moment. So what can Delaney muster? So through turn 1. In fact, we're right on board the Nissan Altima. Oh, down an extra gear there compared to his teammate. Short shift up. And almost pretty much 0.6 of a second down at the first split. So he's going to need to find quite a bit of time. And he's fighting the car quite a lot through turn 4 and 5. So just looking at it visually, he's struggling a little bit at the moment. And again, very wide, the exit of turn 6. Again, when the car goes silent like that, generally means that you're locking the rears, which is not what you want to do in a supercar. As he approaches second split, so you see Hall and Cotter setting lap times. Hall just short of pole position. Cotter down in P6 now. Delaney now out of the final corner. It's not been the prettiest of laps. As Phillips crosses the line to go P11. Delaney now to the line, and it's not going to be a very good lap. 1 minute, well, relatively speaking, compared to what he's done in previous rounds. 1 minute 30.2 and 9/10 away from O'Hara out in front. O'Hara himself is only just a tenth, or just under. Oh, sorry, Hall is just under a tenth shy of O'Hara in first. So Hall having one of his better runs of the season so far. As we've got Dominiak crossing the line to go P13 with 2 minutes remaining. Now, just try and And, well, it seems like that is it. So it looks like it was just a shorter qualifying session due to, obviously, the longer drivers briefing and problems with the server being reset a couple times. So, got about... countdown is on. 1 minute 30 or so to go. So we're underway for the short sprint race, which I do believe sets the grid for the longer feature race later on. So, just to reiterate once again, the format for this evening, 2 races. This first race here, a short 12-lap sprint. And then after that, the 62-lap feature race. So now we just wait as we get ready for the start of the first race of round 7 from Sydney Motorsport Park. Alright, and as you can see, 30 seconds away now from the start. All drivers and cars formed up onto the grid. And then again, another, just to explain why you can see the menu in the left, just a shortcoming of Assetto Corsa. No proper spectator features in this one. Thankfully fixed in ACC. Anyway, the lights are on, and we're about to go racing for race 1 here, Sydney Motorsport Park. Away we go, and it looks like Thornton there, or one of the Super Cheap cars, has gone absolutely nowhere. Hall's got a decent start, but O'Hara will have the inside. But O'Hara leads through turn 1. Monroe up the inside and into P2. And that fighting is allowing O'Hara just to get away just a little bit, but Monroe now up into P2, Hall down to P3. Also seeing a number of drivers further back swapping positions as well. Stenny up into 15th. Gunnison swapping positions there. And the 2 Red Bull cars side by side. And we'll just have a look actually. So Thornton has got going in the Super Cheap car. So for whatever reason, just missed the start. And he's got a lot of time to make up. 27 seconds off the lead already. Hopefully he's not got too much damage. And it looks like we've got Reid's gone round. Reid, our championship leader, missed it off in the background there, but he's dropped down to 23rd position. So I do believe these races you do get the same amount of points for the sprint as you do for the feature, but he's got a lot of work to do now to get himself back up the field, down in 23rd position. But he's got at least time on his side happening on the first lap as opposed to midpoint of the race. I do believe there is pit stops as well in these sprint races, so we might see him in on at the end of this first lap here, just to give himself some clear air to undercut all these other drivers that he's going to have to pass out on the circuit. But after lap 1, O'Hara leads, and Monroe's had a very good first lap, up a couple spots, and trying to pressure O'Hara in first. A little bit of gap to Hall, then Cotter, Kortum, Brock, Delaney, Lynn, Crab, Lauder, Phillips, Stanley up into 12th. Solid start from him. Ches, Keane, Eaton, Runch, Dominiak, Guttison, French, Bradshaw, Keys, Pickford, Reid, and Thornton. And so we've had Brock and Delaney exchange positions. So that's Brock now up into P6. So good start to the weekend for Walkinshaw and Dreddy United. But at the moment, Hall just hanging on. He's dropping away from our second place Monroe with Cotter all over the back of the 77 Mega Fuels entry. See, right on board, Rusty Hall. Got Pickford and French exchanging positions down the field. Still got French down in 23rd. Well, as I say that, he's just passed someone. Just past Keys, but he's got a lot of work to do. And if there is pit stops in this one, he's probably going to have to, it might be an idea just to pit early. As we see Hall go wide, that will allow Cotter up into P number 3. see doing his championship hopes no harm at all, moving up there with his teammate all the way down in 22nd. As O'Hara 29.4, that would have been close to pole position. And the only man in the 29s. Also got Lynn having a good run in the second Boost Mobile Motorsport entry as well. That's good for their fight back in the championship. Got Crab in the top 8, one of his better runs of the season. Team Harvey Norman sitting 11th in the team standings as well. So doing a good job at the moment. But he's got another angry Nissan, obviously behind Lynn. A very angry battle pack behind Crab here. And do have, I think that's Reid in the pits. Yeah, Reid entering the pit, so he's going to look to undercut a number of drivers out there. That's up in third place. Cotter hasn't really broken away from Hall after Hall's mistake at the end of the last lap. And Kortum not too far away from Hall as well now. We've got Delaney and Brock still battling it out. It looks like, in fact, on this lap, Crab's sort of edged a little bit closer to P7, and he's edged away from Lynn, who's got Lauder for company. And, there's Lynn a little bit wide. Lauder having a look up the inside. There's another fastest lap for O'Hara, 29.1. Not an ideal exit, though, for his teammate. But thankfully for him, Lauder behind him didn't have a good exit either. Also got Stenny down in 23rd. I believe he's probably pitted as well. So look for those guys later on in the race once the pit stop shake out to probably move up a spot or two. See Stenny starting down the field. Got himself up to 12th place before he pitted. So he's had a solid start in this sprint race so far. As looks like Phillips under attack from Keane. The Team 18 Preston Hire entry. We've got Thornton down in 24th now into the pit. So he's looking to get his pit stop over and done with as well down the back of the field. But yeah, nice, angry battle pack. The edge of the top 10 here. Phillips was having a little bit of a go of Lauder, but he's also in the clutches of Keane and Ches in behind. And got Runch and Eaton not too far away as well. Then looks like another battle pack formed up behind Gutterson in 16th. So you see Phillips wide. Allows Keane and Ches to close in. Oh, and around, I was going to say around goes Keane, but a little bit too wide on the grass, unsettled the rear, and that saved Phillips bacon. And that's given Ches the easiest position he'll get all night. And we've had Brock and Delaney swap positions. It's still not over as they go into turn 2. Brock very late under brakes, and Delaney also late under brakes. Delaney just able to pull it up, but had to correct it, something crazy. Brock, though, off into the boonies, and he's also lost out to Crab. So just a little bit too aggressive there from Brock, but as I said at the start of the broadcast, he's certainly one man to look out for because he'll provide plenty of action, whether it be positive or negative, as down the field. Pickford and French also in the pits, as Reid sets his personal best down in 21st spot. Stenny again, he's going to be another one to look out for. You might see him jump into the top 10 once the pit stops shake out. A little bit further back. But Hall, Kortum still fairly close together, but Hall holding on for now. 0.8 of a second between those guys. And then Crab still a little bit of a gap between himself and Brock. After Brock's mistake there at turn 2. But as I say, that Crab wide, we've seen it, and also I think that's Lauder also wide at the penultimate corner. Drivers are struggling there. And I wonder if you'll see a number of drivers enter the pits. Yeah, there's Brock into the pits. So after his mistake, he wants to rectify it by chucking a new set of tyres on. Also got That is Phillips, and I do believe that's Ches also in the pit lane. Now, where will they end up? Looks like we've got, I think, the Cool Drive car in as well. Yes, so we'll just have a look and see where they're going to turn out. So there is Stenny, and there is Reid. So where will they end up when they leave the pits? So we're cutting to Brock. Brock's just leaving the pits. And that's Stenny right there. So Stenny's going to move up a spot or two. He's just got by Phillips, and I reckon he'll sneak into the top 10 with that move, because I do believe Brock was 8th or 9th when he pitted, and Stenny's now right behind him. As Brock runs a little bit wide on the exit, Stenny's going to have a look up the inside. See Stenny on warm tyres, Brock on cold tyres with no pressure. Side by side, they go a little bit of contact. Stenny holds on around the outside. Brock holds onto his car just. And Stenny certainly now into a potential top 10 position now, once the pit stops shake out.
Have race to go.
And as you can hear, they're halfway through the race. O'Hara still in the 29s. Cotter in the 29, setting a personal best as well. A couple tenths faster than Munro in second. About 2 seconds separating those guys. Got Keane and Lauder changing positions as well. Number of drivers in the pit. So that is Crab, Keane, and Lauder, as well as Runch also entering the pit lane. So where will these guys end up? So that is Stenny, and Brock's also found his way behind, ended up behind Phillips. So he's made another mistake there. And Stenny is going to jump all those guys in the pit stop. So that early pit stop paying dividends for Stenny, who finds himself now in 11th, but there's still a number of drivers in front of him that do have to pit. That's Keane off in the boonies there. Obviously cold tyres and a low pressures off the circuit he goes. And that'll drop him a lot of spots. Reid now up into 15th, but he will make up a couple more spots when a number of drivers pit in front of him. And now side by side and ahead of Lauder. Lauder, of course, is just pitted. Cold tyres, low pressures, compared to Reid's nice, warm, toasty tyres. Able to stick to the racetrack and up another spot. And it's been a nice recovery after being sent to 23rd position after turn 2. That's just moving afield. And Kortum into the pit lane. His teammate Delaney behind him on the road, continuing on. Also got Lynn out there as well, continuing on. Right, that's Eaton into the pits now. When he'll probably end up behind Phillips and Brock, and he'll feed out close to Dominiak and Reid. Right, just have a look and see. In fact, he might end up well behind him. So that's Stenny. And I do believe that's Dominiak entering the pit lane there. There goes Brock. That's Reid. And then Lauder, Keane, and Ches. And there's Eaton right behind Reid. And right behind him is Lauder. Lauder on the warmer tyres now that he's done a lap. Able to brake a bit later. Thankfully, Eaton doesn't spear up into the back of him. Eaton in 13th. And that moves Stenny up into 8th. Phillips into 9th, but he's got Brock right behind him. And Reid has recovered nicely to P11. And Lynn is another one that will feature around this battle pack here once he does pit. Reid will be hoping that Brock and Phillips probably come to blows and he can get by him fairly comfortably. Because as we've seen, Brock not an easy man to pass. And that's something that Phillips is going to be learning the hard way, I'm sure, in the next couple of laps. As Reid has a little bit of a look as Delaney continues on. We've got Munro, Cotter and Hall all in the pit lane, while O'Hara and Delaney continue on. Oh, it's Brock a little bit wide there at exit of turn 10. Nice and wide, gives him a nice entry point for turn 11, but he's gone too wide, lost the rear end. He's going to lose 2 positions here because he's not going to have the speed. Around the inside goes Reid around, Phillips, and Reid is going to go around the outside. Brock's going to try and stick with him though, up the inside at turn 1. He's pulled it up, but he would have had to get out of the throttle. He's gone defensive, and he's held on for 10th, and well, off goes Phillips. So he's outbroke himself, and well, that's cost him a couple positions. But Brock now holding on for dear life after that little mistake. He's got Reid right behind him. A little bit further back, actually got Kortum and Hall battling it out as well. Swap of positions for those two. And then further back looks like Keane, Ches, Eaton, all very close together on the circuit as well. But another change of position as our leader enters the pit lane. And it looks like we will see Delaney also entering the pits on at the end of lap number 10. And just scrolling a little bit further back here, and as you can see, Pickford, Gutterson, Thornton all close together. Crab not too far away as well. Crab's not had a very good pit stop sequence. Obviously he was running in the top 10 in 8th place, but now finds himself down in 20th spot. So disaster for him after running so well early on, as they've got Pickford and Gutterson side by side into turn 9 and 10. This generally doesn't end well when I've seen it in the past. And yeah, off goes Gutterson, up goes Thornton as he recovers after, well, being stranded at the start there. He was 26 seconds off the lead at the end of the first lap, as got a little bit of F3 tricks between Thornton and Gutterson with, Pickford and Thornton, I should say, as Pickford tries to swerve down the straight to break the toe with Thornton right behind him. But Thornton's had a good exit. He's going to make a late move. He's sort of caught off guard by Pickford a little bit. Will he pull it up? He does pull it up. And that's Thornton now up into 17th spot. And well, he's got about 7 seconds to runch down the road. Runch though towards the back of a little pack which is headed by Mr. Lauder in the second of the Rebel Club cars. Lynn still out there at the moment, so it's currently a Boost Mobile Motorsport 1-2, but Lynn has yet to pit, and there is compulsory pit stop, so he will be in the pits at the end of this lap, as you can see, in the pits, but I reckon he'll probably find himself probably down in 15th or 16th spot, because it's about 35-36 seconds for a pit stop, and Runch about 33 seconds away. So into the lead goes his teammate Munro, who's had a good run in P2. Hasn't let O'Hara get away. Kortum, personal best in 4th place. Let's see, he'll be closing the points gap between himself and Reid in this one, but he's losing out to Cotter, who's behind him in the championship as well. Hall hasn't given up on 4th place though. Only half a second away. Delaney, bit of a quiet P6 at the moment. Stenny has done a good job starting from towards the back end of the field. Finds himself in 7th after pitting early. So Lynn has actually come out in 8th place. So perhaps he's played the old fuel strategy game, and it's worked out quite nicely for him. He's only got half a lap to manage. Brock's got about half a lap to manage, with Reid trying to claw back as many points as he can after going around and ending up 23rd right at this very corner at turn 6 on the opening lap. But at the front, our leader coming around the final corner. And it looks like for now Brock holding on. But O'Hara will take race 1 in his return. Should he hold on for this final lap? A couple tenths faster than Munro, who said his personal best, but he's, again, still 2 tenths slower than our race leader. Cotter in 3rd place. Bit of a quiet one. Hasn't had the pace to match the front two. He's been a little bit faster than Kortum in behind. Kortum, though, 1 lap to manage. As Hall behind him, a little bit wide on the grass. He exited turn 1. Delaney be hoping for a mistake or two from those guys in front. Lynn has now been caught by Brock and Reid. His tyres, though, will be up to pressure and temperature at some point throughout this final lap, though. So he should be able to manage, but it will certainly throw a spanner in the works of Brock, who's, for the most part, been keeping an eye on his mirrors for the past 3 to 4 laps as he runs a little bit wide and exit to turn 4. Oh, and we're getting a little bit of lag there, which is why they look like they're sort of drifting just a little bit. Reid having a look up the inside of turn 6, not quite close enough to make the move, but he won a good exit out of 6 and a good run through 7 to set up a dive bomb into turn number 8. But I don't think he's quite close enough. He's going to have a look, show his nose, but again, not quite close enough. Brock will hold on for now as we see O'Hara cross the start-finish line to take the first win of the evening in his comeback. Munro will take P2. Cotter, very solid P3 in the end, albeit a little bit quiet. Kortum holds on to 4th. Hall, a very solid P5. Delaney, P6, with Stenny now approaching the start-finish line to finish in 7th after starting at the back. So good run from him. Good points for Boost Mobile Motorsport, with Lynn having one of his better runs of the season in 8th. Brock will hold on for 9th. Reid, a good recovery to 10th. Lauder, 11th. Phillips, with Keane in tow, finishing 13th, or 12th and 13th. Ches and Eaton, 14th and 15th for DJR Team Penske. Then we have Runch, Pickford, Gutterson, Crab, Keys, and Bradshaw, all very close together. And then Dominiak crossing the line in P22. Also had Thornton, a late retirement, with French over the line in 24. So I don't know what it looks like. His car's just disappeared as Thornton. So perhaps internet issues of some kind, or he just left the server, meaning he DNF'd that one right at the death. So at the front wasn't too intriguing, but certainly the battles further down the field were quite interesting. The number of battle packs and some different strategies playing out. A good recovery drive from Reid there, our championship leader. So being at the back of the field to finish in 10th in the end. A good effort. Couldn't quite get ahead of Brock in the end, but a solid drive nonetheless. Alright, well, with race 1 done and dusted, we'll take a short break, but we should be back in about 5 or 10 minutes time as we prepare for the second and feature race of the evening, 62 laps around Sydney Motorsport Park. Don't go anywhere. Server's been ticked over to a qualifying session. Again, I'm not quite sure if this is an official sort of qualifying session or if we will be setting the grid for the next one. But either way, we'll show the action on your screen and we'll see if it does set the grid up for race 2. And as you can see, Munro there out on a lap. He's got Brock out there behind him, and also one of the Penrite Erebus cars as well, just a field down the road there. So we did see some interesting racing, obviously, in that first one. Out the front, it was a little bit strung out, but see, Munro did a really good job keeping O'Hara under just a little bit of pressure all race long, but didn't quite have the ultimate pace in the end as Brock goes lawn mowing there in the background, and Munro doing the same at turn 4. So perhaps this obviously short little period and qualifying session will see a couple drivers make some tweaks to their cars and different setup changes, and may see some different lap time set. Obviously, we did see a bit of a change between the pace between drivers last time out at Hidden Valley between the feature and sprint races with I think it was Delaney, no, I believe it was Kortum actually that walked away really in the sprint race, but didn't have an answer to Cotter in the feature race, with Cotter absolutely smoking everybody in that one last time out. So might be something to look out for in this one. We may see the Erebus cars just be that little bit quicker come obviously heavy fuel and the longer race format, with some drivers able to cope and some drivers just not being able to keep that consistency up or being able just to manage that higher fuel level. So Munro there, out there, 32 for him on that lap. I'm going to hazard a guess that's with a little bit of race fuel on board. So it didn't look like a terribly slow lap. But we're right on board Mr. Delaney here. And see how he's managing out there. So we've got Reid, 1 minute 30.0. Eaton at 1 minute 30.7. We've got Delaney 2/10 off Reid. Cotter to the top of the timesheets with a 1:29.7. And obviously, as the server has been reset, another thing to take note of is that the track grip does change when the server is reset. Despite that, O'Hara to the top, 1 minute 28.7. And that's the quickest lap that we've seen. We'll see when we've been in the server. So, see, lack of grip not phasing him all that much as Delaney across the line goes P4, 1 minute 30.1 for him. So we see Stenny leaving the pit lane, but we'll jump over to Mr. O'Hara, former championship leader, but finds himself down, I do believe, in fifth or sixth in the driver's standings at the moment. So we're right on board. See how he's taking the second. Got Munro now, 1 minute 29.6, setting a better lap compared to his first. Back we've got O'Hara just slowing down, so either he's going to pit or he's just slowing down to cool the tyres down and give himself some space as well to go again for another timed lap. So as you can see, not really anything behind him, so he could just park it to try and give himself as much space as possible. Currently 9/10 in front of the rest of the field though, and quite quick, it has to be said. So it looks like he will go again, so we will ride on board. See how O'Hara attacks this 3.8 kilometre circuit on the limiter for turn 1. This is all the road on the exit, late on the brakes, gradually down a couple gears, double apex for him. Delaney now up into P2 on a 29.5. Now what can O'Hara manage as we approach the first split? And well, he's within striking distance, just down on his own time. But certainly within striking distance of being able to improve on the 1 minute 28.7 that is already set. To turn 6, a little bit of curb. Nice and smooth on the exit, and he's just up pretty much a tenth of a second. So he's found just over a tenth of a second in that middle sector. Now, the tricky turn number 8. He's just got the nose in. Now, don't lose the rear end on the exit. Keeps it relatively smooth. Now, 9 and 10. So, a number of drivers obviously struggling coming through this point, running wide on the exit of turn 10 and going on the grass. And that's what O'Hara has done. That will cost him time, and in fact, it looks like he was going to abort that lap. Well, I did think he was going to abort it, but anyway, he's actually going to continue on, but it certainly would have cost him quite a bit of time. Crosses the line. No, well, it did cost him time in the end, but that could have been a much, much better lap. Still improving his lap time, but it could have been even better, which is rather ominous for the rest of the field. It's got Kortum now crossing the line to go P4. So it's a ZB at the top, but then we've got 3 Nissan Altimas with Delaney, Munro and Kortum second, third and fourth, and now we've got Stenny now up into P5, so it's good to see him able to get out there and set some laps. So I do believe he's leading the Automobilista Supercars Championship. Also does a bit of iRacing as well. So he's now fitting into P5. Our first of the Fords, Ford Mustangs, Mr. Eaton, 2.1 seconds off the pace in 10th with a 1 minute 30.7. Got Pickford there, also just setting a lap time, 1 minute 31 for him. Interesting enough though, that's O'Hara still out there on a lap. Can't tell you what the times are for him. It's actually warming his tyres, so perhaps he's gone back to pits and gone back out. Got Hall, who qualified. Well, he qualified on the front row, I do believe, for race 1. Finds himself in 11th at the moment, so he'll be hoping to find a bit of time. Both the Walkinshaw and Andretti United cars actually just struggling a little bit. With obviously Hall down in 12th as Kortum now moves his way onto the front row. Oh, and one of the Monster Energy Mustangs there going to go back to the pits. Also got Cotter out there, who was the man to watch in the feature race last time out at Hidden Valley. He'll be hoping to continue that form in the longer format races and claw his way back up closer towards his teammate in the championship standings. That said though, finds himself in P6 and at 1.1 off O'Hara, who, as we saw, still a little bit of time on the table for him at these final couple corners here. So out of the final corner goes Cotter. Now, due to the timing, again, not sure if this is a time lap or not, but this next one will be. It was a lap. It does move him up to P5, but he's immediately dropped down to P6 with O'Hall. Now, once again, back to where he started. Race number 1 was on the front row alongside O'Hara. Didn't get away well, and immediately under pressure from Munro, which he eventually couldn't hold on to. Munro moved up into second and taking second with Hall there, I believe, holding on to third in the end, as we see Cotter just struggling a little bit on the exit of turn 4. Now through turn 5, this is all the apron as Delaney now up into third. Down a gear for turn number 7. This is all the road. Sets himself up for turn number 8. A little bit of slide under braking there. Very easy to do. And again, lost a little bit of time there through turn 8 as well. Just turned a little bit too much for him and had to straighten the car up. And in fact, he's going to abort that lap. So not too happy with that one. It's another man out there at the moment. Delaney in third. See, doing slightly better than his teammate at this stage, but there's absolutely nothing really between second place all the way down to Stenny in 8th, only 4/10 of a second. But obviously a bit of a gap between first and second, O'Hara and Hall, and then a bit of a gap between Stenny and Brock at 4.5 tenths. But then with Brock, again, we've got a nice, very, very battle pack forming with those guys. Another sort of tier, you could say, with 9th all the way down to Bradshaw in 16th, separated by 6/10 of a second. Who's sort of in no man's land, a couple tenths behind Lauder and a couple tenths in front of Ches. So we go to Pickford there, P18. We're hoping to get into the 1 minute 30s at least. But also Keys will be another one looking to improve for Team 18 in the Irwin Tools car. Currently down in 20th place. Gutterson, another one. Hasn't had a good season so far. And yeah, 33.2. Not a good qualifying effort so far for the feature race here this evening. So we'll try and find... So you got Reid out there again. He's now in 3rd place. Just starting another lap. We will ride on board with him actually. You can see the orange number indicating that he is the reigning champion. He's also our championship lead. A bit of a slide. A little bit too much curb on the exit of turn 2. That would have cost him a little bit of time. Having to use a little bit of curb there at turn number 3. 10th and a half off in the first split compared to O'Hara. Ooh, and a little bit of slide on the exit of 4. Not ideal for turn number 5. Bouncing over the curb on the exit as well. Seen a number of drivers just avoid that curb altogether and run wider. Again, a little bit wide on the exit of 6. Struggling a little bit. That said, only 2.5 tenths away at the second split line. Lauder moves up into P12. Late on the brakes is Reid. Ooh, a little bit of slide on the exit. Having to fight the steering wheel, fight the car. Again, hasn't been an ideal lap, but he just wants to move up another spot if he can. He's probably not going to be able to take pole position, as O'Hara has actually improved a little bit on the last lap or two, down to a 28.599. Out of the final corner, though, it goes Reid a little bit wide, but that won't cost him any time at all, as we've got Cotter now up into P4, so it is currently Erebus 3 and 4. And that is Reid done and dusted. He's not going to be able to set a lap time with 40 seconds left. Also got O'Hara going back to the pit lane as well. So he's happy with the lap time he's set. Currently 6.5 tenths clear of the field. Cotter out there at the moment. He did have a little bit of traffic at the start of his lap. And I believe that's Pickford there in the Techno Autosports car. As a little bit of a slide for Cotter at turn number 4. That's going to certainly compromise his lap. And yeah, he's 8 tenths down already. Or actually, no, that's just the gap that he has at the moment. Sorry, that's just my mistake. So you see Ches down the field there, moving up into P15. 1 minute 30. Approaching the second split. Time has expired. So all drivers now on their final laps. Can anybody improve? Delaney will be, well, he's going back to the pit lane. But that is Crab that's coming down the straight now. And he's going to the pit lane. I do believe that is Cotter going back to the pits. And that will be Eaton approaching the start-finish line. Can he improve? Indeed he can. Up into P13 for now. Now Keys approaching the start-finish line. Keys cannot improve. So that's him done and dusted. Got Kortum now approaching the final section. Got Reid still out there as well at the moment. But Kortum now coming out of the final corner. And racing to the line. Don't have any sector times to know if he's improved or not, but he's going to go to the start finish line. Does he improve? No, he does not. But got Reid now into the pits practicing his pit entry. That's his Gutterson across the line. 32.3 for him. And that is that for the qualifying session for race 2, round 7 here from Sydney Motorsport Park. Alright, we do have about 2.5 minutes to go of a countdown, and then I'm guessing we'll be getting underway in about 4 or so minutes time. We'll take just a short break, but we'll be back with race 2, the 62 lap feature race from Sydney Motorsport Park, coming up. Alright, hello and welcome. As you can see, top left-hand corner of your screen, 35 seconds away from the feature race here at Sydney Motorsport Park for the AK Racing Supercars Championship. Now, I was just having a look at the entry list, and it looks like Stenny has disappeared from the server. So, big shame for him. He would have been starting inside the top 10. But unfortunately for him, he's going to miss this one as we're about to get underway here. The lights are about to come on. And revs are rising. And away we go. Looks like a decent start from, I think that is Reid in third. Well, he's now in third place. Hall's got a much better start this time. But in the lead still. Once again, O'Hara holds on. And now the two Erebus cars battling it out. Right behind him, though, Hall going a little bit defensive, trying to hold on. Reid and Cotter side by side through turn number 2. And as you can see, it looks like everybody through there relatively cleanly. Stenny has made it onto the grid and he's away and going, so thankfully able to get in at the death. But O'Hara leads the field away, and then it's Hall. Delaney's made his way up in front of Cotter, so that's something we just missed out on. But good job for him and for the Team Castrol Plus Fitness Nissan Ultimas, as he's able to split obviously the team they're battling in the team championship, and are currently sitting in 4th place. But obviously this race being a little bit longer, strategy will be key, and obviously lap time and tyre life on obviously old tyres and with a lot of fuel is going to be vital around here. And we did see the Penrite Erebus cars were quite good at that at Hidden Valley. With Kortum did struggle on the heavier fuel loads. It's got Reid now putting Hall under all kinds of pressure out of the final corner. Hall having to go defensive. Reid sticking up the inside. Oh, we've got to slow O'Hara. I don't know what has happened there, but O'Hara has had to stop for whatever reason, and O'Hara is out. I don't know what has happened there. Got Keane entering the pits on the first lap. We've got Lynn also out. Stenny is also out. Cotter is also out. So I wonder what has happened there. But Cotter obviously perhaps caught a bit of that damage. And, well, that's changed things up massively. I don't know what's happened. But obviously there's a very, very slow O'Hara. And a bit of an incident there just before turn 1, and now we're down to 16 cars. Hall leads. Reid, though, vitally for him in his championship, one of his championship rivals, obviously out of the race now, his teammate. And O'Hara, also another one, he's had to go back to the pits. Looks like he's going to try and get back going again as well. Same with Cotter, but they're probably going to be almost a lap down. Bradshaw's also another one that's just retired. That's Lynn, O'Hara and Cotter all in the pits. I do believe we did see one driver entering the pits as well at the exit, or at the end of the first lap as well. But also seen Kortum move up a couple of spots. Phillips is up a few spots. Munro's dropped down, and that is one of the... that's an incident there for one of the Rabble Club cars. I'm not sure who that is. That is not Lauder, so... And we've also got Lauder and Guttison have DNF'd as well, so perhaps we're having some kind of server issue and we're going to restart. I don't know what has happened, but it looks like everybody's going back to the pits and stopping. So looks like some difficulties and some problems are going to cause this race to probably be restarted, which is a bit unfortunate, but it's just the way it is sometimes in virtual motorsport. And with that, we'll just take a short break and try and find out what is going on. Alright, and welcome back to round 7 of the AK Racing Supercar Championship. So, as we saw, just a bit of a kerfuffle with obviously a number of drivers sort of disappearing and retiring all of a sudden, dropping from the server, and as well as a bit of some accidents as well. So what is going to take place is once everybody rejoins the server after server reset, everybody will form up under a safety car restart, and we'll have a rolling start here for what will hopefully be a full 62 laps with no further, obviously, server issues or internet issues for people. But yeah, just to reiterate, obviously what happened was a number of the front runners and even those further down the field as well, people just dropped from the server or had a little bit of a freeze, and obviously we had O'Hara there parked just at turn 1 there, which caused a little bit of an accident, damage to some cars, and other cars just dropping out randomly for reasons unknown. And due to that, we've reset the server and we're going to restart the race with a rolling start, which will hopefully sort the which will sort out the order of the grid a little bit quicker than having to manually put it into a file and then obviously put it into the server. So probably a few minutes away, although it has just ticked over to the next session. So hopefully we will get underway relatively soon. But yeah, probably about 3 or 4 minutes away at least until we get going again for a race 2 this evening. So just to run down, see what happened in race 1 there. We did have O'Hara taking a comfortable and commanding win with Munro in second. Hall joined him on the front row at the start, but didn't have a good start in that one. Was immediately under pressure from Munro, and then early on in that first lap there, Munro was able to squeeze by and kept O'Hara honest for all of that race there, but just didn't quite have the ultimate pace to trouble O'Hara too much. It was a nice battle for third place in the end, but I think Hall taking that in the end. Didn't quite have the pace of the front two, but still good solid pace and points for Walkinshaw and Judy United. Also had Reid in that first race, was turned around or went around on that first lap, I believe at turn number 6. Dropped him down to 23rd and second last as Thornton missed the start or just had a bit of lag or some such and just didn't get away from the line and was 26 seconds behind everybody by turn 2. So Reid had a bit of work to do through pit stops and overtaking, was able to get back to, I think it was 9th or 10th in the end. It was battling with Brock there at the end of the race, but recovered well and picked up some vital points for him after what could have been a disastrous first race this evening. But he'll still be kicking himself for obviously dropping it or being dropped by someone else. We didn't quite see there on that first lap. But still, good recovery drive from him. Stenberg was another one of the ones that was down the field. I don't know if he set a lap time in qualifying or was just a bad lap in the opening qualifying session. But throughout the race, he worked his way through the field. Was up to 12th before pitting, I do believe, on the end of lap 3. And through all that, he was able to undercut a number of drivers and work his way up into the top 10 as well there, jumping Brock. And I do believe, he was already ahead of Reid, but he was he was ahead of Brock after the pit stop sequence took place. Anyway, looks like we're just about to get going. It has been ticked over to the race session, but we'll just wait and see for a moment. So we'll just take a short, probably 1 minute break, but we'll be back in a moment. Alright, now, as you can see, not long to go until the race does get going. Obviously, it will be a a rolling start, as will allow the drivers to run through the grid and sort out the grid on a formation lap. Due to the nature of the Assetto Corsa, just had to play around a little bit, and there we go. So now we're back out there, and we'll get proper broadcast cameras. So we're just waiting now for the formation lap and the rolling start to get underway. So drivers will be told when to get going. As you see the Irwin Tools car spinning out, one car going back to the pits. Hopefully this gets sorted relatively soon, which it doesn't look like it will be. So people doing doughies out there on the stream, better cut them off. Alright, so just to give you a little bit of an update about what is going on, I've just been informed that due to obviously the issues that have been going down, that actually race 2 has been cancelled. So unfortunately, no feature race for you guys this evening. A bit of a shame, because I reckon it would have been a bit of a crack of a race with some strategies and obviously O'Hara back in the mix to make it a bit spicy in the championship as well. Bit of a shame. But unfortunately, obviously had to cancel it due to obviously these issues that we've been having. So just a little bit of a recap. Obviously, O'Hara winning the first race, Munro finishing in second place. But unfortunately, the second and feature race, which was 62 laps long from Sydney Motorsport Park, has been dropped. So you'll have to obviously wait 2 weeks' time for your next bit of AK Racing Supercar Championship action, which will be from the Bend. Alright, from myself, Lewis Wedding, I hope you've enjoyed the unfortunately much shorter broadcast this evening from Sydney Motorsport Park and for AK Racing. We'll catch you in 2 weeks' time from the Bend. Have a good one.